Tech by Tips.
Welcome to another Tech by Tips video. In today's video, we're going to cover how to install DSM 7.2 if you're running XPEnology, because previously I had set up in a video how to configure your own computer to run DSM 7.1, and I was using the XPEnology bootloader so that you can actually boot into the Linux variant created by Synology to run the operating system of the Synology devices. So if you have an original Synology device, you're fine, you can just upgrade directly from your Synology device normally. But if you were running an XPEnology device and you were running ARPL, so the automated red pill loader, you'll notice that the repository for ARPL has been archived. So this person is no longer working on this bootloader and there's not going to be any new updates. But he gave us information about a new project that is following on his footsteps for new versions, and that's RR. If you go into the XPEnology forum, you'll find people discussing that they wanted to upgrade to 7.2, but they couldn't do it because ARPL didn't have that option. So now the option to do that is using the new one, which is RR.org, and that's in GitHub. So you can go into their github.com/rrorg/rr, and in their releases you can find the latest version, which in this case, as of now, June 8th, was released 20 hours ago. So we're gonna do this. In my case, I'm running the virtual NAS here on an ESXi host, and my version of ESXi is pretty old because this is old hardware that I'm running in. This is a machine from 2007. Used to be a powerful server then. Now it's just a good workstation. So the new OVA that is released by RR.org unfortunately is not compatible with my version. I am running ESXi 6.5, and this is using a very advanced definition of a VM, so it's not going to work for me. So what I'm going to do is, when I created my virtual NAS, I fortunately created the bootloader in a USB stick that is connected to the NAS, and it's being passed through from the host that it has ESXi to that virtual NAS machine, so that it boots from that, right? So what I can do is I can pull out that USB stick, I can create a backup of the previous version, and then I can use the new image, burn that new image into that USB stick, and then basically do like if I were going to do an upgrade. So I would then reconfigure the bootloader, but I'll still use the same disks that I had, so you should be able to upgrade to 7.2. So that's what we're going to do. So let me go into my device. I already stopped the virtual NAS, so I can just go into the computer, take out the USB, and then bring it up to my workstation where I'm recording this video. Alright, I have retrieved that USB from the ESXi host, and I'm going to plug it into my computer now. It has detected it, and as you can see, it's a Linux formatted kind of system, so it doesn't recognize a lot of stuff here. So let's close out of this, and we can see here's the EFI section of it with the ARPL information, so we know for sure that we're in the right USB. So first of all, what I want to do is I want to make a backup. So to make the backup of that, I'm going to use Roadkill's Imager, and here we have this, and here's our physical disk USB drive. So I am going to store an image, and then I'm going to save that in here in a folder that has the USB loaders, and I'm going to say this is DSM 7.1 and this is ARPL, so that I know what this image is. And yeah, that's pretty good. We're going to save that, and then we're going to say start, and then that's going to grab the information from the USB drive that I currently have configured running DSM 7.1, and then I'm going to transfer that into an image just in case if I want to go back for some reason to 7.1. So everything should be able to work as it is. It's an 8 GB pen drive, so it shouldn't take long, about 5 minutes or so. So I'll be back when that's done. And as we can see, the image is being created here. So when it's done, it's going to have a size. Right now it's just blank, but that's where it's storing that. As we can see by this message, the image has successfully been created. So now I can click OK and then refresh here, and as you can see, it has an appropriate size because that's about the size of that USB drive. So now I can just go ahead, close here, and then I'm gonna go in here into the Raspberry Pi Imager. I'm gonna select a custom image. and I'm going to look for the RR image that I downloaded from GitHub, and I click open. And in this case, I'm not going to specify here anything for Raspberry Pi device because I just want to burn an image. Then here I'm going to select the 8GB drive, and then I'm going to say next. I don't want to do any customizations. And are you sure you want to continue? Yes. So now I'm writing that image that I downloaded from GitHub into that USB stick, and that USB stick is now going to have the RR loader instead of the ARPL loader that I had before. And that's going to allow me now to reconfigure the system to load DSM 7.2 and continue using my device with the newest version of DSM. Alright, we're coming to a closing here. It has finally written all of the information into the USB drive, and now it's verifying that all the information is written correctly. And once it does that, we should be okay to remove the USB drive from the computer and then plug it back into the ESXi host, and then we will restart the machine and reconfigure it. Alright, it has finished. It's telling me here that it doesn't recognize the Linux file system, but that's good because we're not going to use that in Windows. So now we can just take that drive out and then plug it into the ESXi host. Now that the drive is again in the ESXi host, let's power on this machine. And as soon as we have an option, we're going to go into the console and we're going to do the configuration in the console. And here we go. As usual, we get a grub screen because that's the bootloader for the USB. And it's version 2.12, so it's a more advanced version than we had before. And in here, since this is brand new, we have not configured it. We just have the option to configure the loader or change the video mode. So we're going to go into configure loader. And as it was doing before with automated ARPL Loader, it's going to load some things and it's going to keep us up to date. And then it's going to let us know how we can actually do the configuration. The first time that you boot the configuration, it might take a little bit of time, so just be patient. And here we go. Now it's saying that it's going to boot like ARPL used to do before for us. Finding the bootloader disk, resizing, and here we go to the RR interface, which is very similar to what automated ARPL Loader used to be. And again, we get our URL, that is the IP of that machine with the 7681. So it's exactly the same as we used to have with the ARPL Loader. And when we get to that page, we see the usual kind of menu. And in here it says that currently there's no model configured, and no serial number, no product version, the IP, and the keyboard that we're using, which is the US QWERTY, and we're booting with UEFI. And now we can just set it up. So the first thing we can do is choose a model. And in here, when we click here, it will give us a list of different models that we can run as the NAS that it's pretending to be. And as we can see, the list is pretty big compared to what we had with the ARPL. So there's a little bit of everything. Usually the DS3617XS tends to be very useful for most hardware. It tends to work without problems. And if you want to have other features, then you pick another different version here. So for example, the DVA1622 is for the AI version of the XPEnology device, so that includes more licenses in the surveillance station and other tools for AI processing of the video and stuff like that. So you pick whatever you want here. Let's just pick, for example, the DVA1622. So we select that, and now it says which version we want to install. This is referring to the DSM version. It gives us 7.0, 7.1, and 7.2, and we want 7.2. So I'm going to select that. Then it's going to pull out that information that is necessary to download the information to actually get it to work. So we're going to say, please confirm or modify. So we're going to say OK, and now we just wait. Now the system is downloading that and configuring a lot of things in the background so that we then can configure how we want it to work. So this might take a little bit of time. Just be patient, let it work. All right, now we have the rest of the options back again. So in here, we can check if we want to add any add-on or check the path file, any modules that we want to add and stuff like that. So let's go into the add-ons real quickly. And in here we can show all the add-ons that are currently there. And we have the full list of add-ons here. As you can see, the add-in cards, ARPD, CPU info, and a bunch of other stuff. So it's really nice. Now they have wireless in here too. Sensors that can be configured, power schedule. That's really nice. Anything that is in blue has been added and black has not. So far I want the CPU info because my CPU is definitely not the CPU that comes from with this model. So I wanted to be able to display the correct CPU information. So I'm going to add that. And let me see what else. We could also enable the codec patch, so it allows us to do transcoding without having a valid serial number. And for now I think that's more than enough that I need. There's another one that maybe if you're using an LSI card for RAID controller, you might need that one, but for now I'm not going to use that. This is a virtual machine, so I'm not going to need that. So okay, let's say okay, and then let's click add an add-on, and in there we're going to pick the two that we said that we're interested in. So the codec patch, we say add that, and then we're gonna also add CPU info. So now when it adds those two, then we should see that as being available when we select the command to show again. Alright, so let's show all the add-ons again, and we should now have in blue the CPU info and the codec. So there we go, it's blue. So that means that it's been added. So we can now exit out of this part, and then we can check, for example, the modules to see if something here that we might need. So let's show the modules, and in here we see a full list of all the different modules that can be added to the system. So that's like if you need specific things given your hardware and restrictions that you have based on your hardware, etc., you can pick modules here that'll allow you to do things. I'm not going to do anything, so I'm just going to cancel. I just wanted to show that in there. And I'm not going to select any other modules, so exit out of that. Then we can go into the command line menu, and this will show us here that we have nothing. So in here we can select, specify the serial number or MAC number for the system. And if we go here into add and edit command line item, then we have here examples of things that you can put in the command line to specify as values. Here it shows, for example, how to disable the kernel trim, how to set the maximum C states, and turn off power management of the PCI port and things like that. And if you need to index your disks, you can also do this. And yeah, basically I don't really need to do anything here, so I'm just gonna cancel for now. And then when we can define the serial number and MAC, it'll generate a serial number for you, and you can change it if you want, based if you already have a valid serial number that you want to use. For example, let's say you had a Synology device but you're not using it, but you do have the sticker with the serial number. You can actually put it here and then click on OK, and it'll do it. Or you can just select the option that says random, and then that'll generate a random one with random MAC also. And that's going to be perfect also, because that's going to work for you. So do what you want here. In my case, I'm just going to leave it at random right now. So now we can just say exit out of here, because we have configured the serial number. And we can also go into the Sino info, and we can show and see the entries here. And if there's anything that you need to remove or add, you can do it here without problems. I'm not going to change anything, so I'm just going to cancel. But just wanted to show you that there's the option there. Then exit, and then I'm going to build a loader. This is going to actually go and create that image that the system is going to use to boot. It's going to download things that it needs from the internet, and then it's going to build that image that is going to be giving us another option. Now it's going to be the primary option in our bootloader in Grub, that is going to be boot DSM. And it's going to boot the 7.2 version of DSM with all the things that we configured here for this machine. Alright, it has copied all the things, setting the hatches, copied files, and now it's patching the C image. And it says that it is ready and it cleaned up, and now we go back to the menu, and this menu now gives us the option to boot the loader, and here we go. It's telling us that it should be accessible at the regular IP that we normally have for our system, so let's just give it time, because it usually takes some time for it to actually boot and become available. You see it's loading the DSM kernel now, and it says that the interface now is not going to be operational here. Now we should be able to find the device in our find.synology.com, or using the Synology assistant, or going to the IP that we should expect it to be at. And here we go. After giving it a little bit of time, I open the IP of the virtual NAS on port 5000, and it's now loading the setup of the DSM 7.2. So now we just have to follow the instructions on the user interface. So it's recognizing it as a DVA 1622, which is what we said we wanted it to be. And now we say install. And then we, in this case, since we're just upgrading, we're going to say retain the system configurations. And then we click next. And then we say download the latest version directly from the Synology website. We click next. And we just let it do its thing. It's going to take about usually 10-15 minutes or something like that to download Disk Station Manager, set it up, and then reboot, and then it'll give us the opportunity for us to work on it, create our user if necessary, etc. Alright, if you get a problem like this, that usually happens. Usually the way to fix it is to change the model that you have selected for the device. So I'm just gonna go and change the model and try again and come back when we're successful. Alright, after trying several models, finally found a model that wanted to work with my old hardware. So the DS1621 XS Plus decided to work. So now we're at the point where we're waiting for the restart and everything should be working back to normal. Alright, the system's getting ready for it to start and we should be good. We should be able to validate that everything was set up properly and we'll have access to our NAS again. Now we're proceeding with installing packages and other steps that are necessary. Alright, we finally got the banner that says welcome to DSM 7.2, so we're going to click on start. In this case, I had to change the option of keeping the settings, so I had to reset the settings, so that's why it's prompting for this. So let's do this again. So I create my account and I give it a name, and now it says how do we want to update. And for now I'm going to say just let me know, but don't install stuff. And we click next. And now it's loading and it says create a Synology account. I don't need that, so I'm going to skip that. And I don't want to collect unidentifiable data, so I'm going to say submit. And we've finally gotten access to the new 7.2 DSM. In this case, I'm going to say no thanks for this. No thanks for this, and I don't want to secure my account. Okay, so now we are in our DSM again. It's giving us a lot of notifications of things here. So there we go, and it kind of looks similar to what we had before. And let me pin that here. But now if we go, let me get rid of this, I don't want this. If I go into the control panel and I go to the info center, you can see that now we're running 7.2.1 and we're running it as a DS1621 XS Plus, and it has the right CPU there because we selected that add-on, and everything so far looks good here. We need to change the time again and some of those settings because I lost those settings. Regional options, here's where we can change the time zone, so I'm going to put Eastern time and apply. And now we're back to the proper time for my NAS. And I just want to check that if I go into Storage Manager, I still have my 2 drives, which is correct. And it tells me that I have my storage pool and everything is correct like it was before. So that's looking good. And we have the 2 drives there, so that's perfect. Now we have the change here where we should no longer have Docker. And that's, as you can see here, we don't have Docker. So if I go into the package center and I agree to the terms, then I'm going to have to look for Container Manager, I believe is the new name of it. There we go. So if we search for Docker, it just tells us Container Manager. So we can install the Container Manager, which is the new Docker. And then we should be able to run Docker containers inside the NAS again. And now Container Manager is installed, so it's also running. Now I want to go here and I want to make sure that I say that I want Container Manager to be my desktop, and now I have it here. So let's open Container Manager And this is a new interface for running Docker containers inside XPEnology. And as we can see here in my overview, I have 15 images, so the images are still there. And then project is a new tab that we have. I have nothing there. When I go into containers, we're lucky. All of our containers are there. Nothing bad happened to them, so we can just start them up and get them running. And we have our images, our registry, which I believe has changed. That's something that I need to figure out later to see what's using. We can see here that it has Docker Hub and it also has a Legion Hub, but the one in use by default is Docker Hub. So that's good. Then it means that we should still have access to that. And our network in here, this is amazing. They finally gave us an option to create different networks. So that's lovely. I am liking this. This is really, really good. And okay, that was it for this video. How to set it up, how to get DSM 7.2 running, and validating that it does work. I hope you found it useful. Remember, if you like the content, leave us a like, share the content if you find it useful to other people that might benefit from it, and leave comments in the section below of things that you would like to see. And also remember, if you find it useful, you can always donate using the links in the description below or using Bitcoin. Both ways are fine. It'll really help us because we are not monetizing this channel. Thank you very, very much. I'll see you on the next one.